Yeah.
So we just watched the newest slasher flick from Eli Roth, and it is called Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
And we're going to talk about it right now.
Let's see.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I'm a boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another I'd Popcorn for That review. I'm Chris.
I'm Casey.
Yeah, a little change of cast this time. So yeah, what's going on there, you might ask?
No, Nick's dead. I killed him with a turkey baster. So
No,
this is the new show now. So sorry, this is the new normal.
No, unfortunately, our boy Nick is feeling a little under the weather. So in his stead today, we got Casey filling in. Thanks for doing that, man.
Anytime.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about this new movie. Like I said, Eli Roth directed it, and it is called Thanksgiving. So this is a Thanksgiving themed slasher flick, and it's in small company. I mean, I can't think of a lot of like Thanksgiving themed horror flicks besides this and Thanksgiving, and I think there's one other. Do you know of any others?
Oh, the name escapes me, but there's one from back in the 80s, and it's about like two twins, and like when they were children, like one of them killed like some people in a drive-in, and it's a whole thing. And then when they reunite, it happens to be on Thanksgiving. It's not really a Thanksgiving movie per se. It's just a slasher movie that's set in that backdrop. It's not like this where it's like clearly like in your face Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is decidedly a Thanksgiving horror movie, and Eli Roth has said like he wants this to be something that like somebody brings it up every Thanksgiving going forward, you know. So and it's in a lot of ways it's a throwback to some of the older like schlocky B-movie slasher flicks. But yeah, so this all started with, if you've been watching movies for less time than us, you might not remember this, but there was a phenomenon called Grindhouse that was a dual release of a Quentin Tarantino movie and a Robert Rodriguez movie, so Death Proof and Planet Terror respectively. And in between the two movies, you saw these as a double feature. In between the two movies, some different directors got a chance to direct short trailers for fake movies that didn't exist. And so far, at least one of those, Machete, but
Can
Machete
you name the rest?
Don't. Werewolf Woman of the SS, I think.
Yes.
That's the only other ones I can think of. And then Thanksgiving. And
that's pretty much it, yes.
So this has finally gotten turned into a movie. I guess it's probably been in talks since roughly 2009, maybe even longer than that. But here we are.
Yeah, the Grindhouse double feature came out in 2007.
2007.
And
gosh.
Yeah, and I don't know how long. Well, shortly after that, you know, Robert Rodriguez turned Machete into a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Eli Roth was like, you know, I really want to make Thanksgiving. I don't know how long he's been dreaming of that since Grindhouse came out, but
probably, yeah.
I heard over the years like it's been a thing, like, oh, Eli Roth is gonna do Thanksgiving. It's like, okay, when? And now 15 years later.
Yeah. And that the knife trampoline gag is the most memorable thing to me from that original fake trailer, and that does make an appearance here, and I'm sure they're kind of, you know, it's a little bit of fan service in a way, I guess, if you can call it that for a trailer. But
there's a couple of callbacks to the original trailer.
I loved the Grindhouse double feature, and I actually saw it in theaters twice. I liked it so much, and I don't often do that with a movie, see it in theaters twice. Yeah, I'm a big fan, especially of Tarantino. So to see this finally turn into something is pretty cool. I don't have the longest history with Eli Roth necessarily. I haven't seen everything. I've seen Hostel. Kind of escapes me if I've seen others, but I don't feel like really strongly one way or another. But I'm here for a good time like this. So yeah, give us a little bit of like the backstory coming into this. What are we dealing with here?
You know, it's a slasher movie. There's a man dressed up like a pilgrim. He's wearing a John Carver mask, which apparently is the first governor of the Plymouth colonies of Massachusetts. And what culminates this whole thing is that a year prior, there was a Black Friday extravaganza, you know, huge riot of people storming outside of this Walmart-esque, you know, store.
Yeah, it's called Right Mart.
Right Mart, yes. And they want them deals. And the security there, they just can't handle it. Everyone is just storming in like they're zombies, and then mayhem ensues. People die. It's
Man,
just a whole thing.
they really went there right out of the gate. And I thought it's interesting because you've got these people getting together. You got the sheriff, Patrick Dempsey's character. I can't look up the guy's name right now, but there's a character actor here that is in a lot of things. But he's the owner of Right Mart, and so they're getting together with this other family where like the kids seem to be friends, and the father of that family is a manager at Right Mart.
Yeah.
And they're all their wives and all these kids together and everything. And the dad, who's the manager, has to go in because Black Friday really starts on Thursday now. And I just thought, man, this is some great like unmined territory here. Like I can't believe I don't know of another example of somebody taking advantage of this opportunity to have like a Black Friday massacre happen where people just stampede each other, and that's like the hinge point of a slasher flick or a horror movie. But the thing that incites it is the girl who's the daughter of, and I can't think of her character's name right now, but the girl who's the daughter of the owner of the store sneaks her friends in there before the store is even open, and they're really making a big show of the fact that they're inside the store and no one else is allowed in. And that's what sort of incites this whole stampede in, and people like barricade, breaking down the doors and crushing people getting their throats slit on broken glass. Like it just really is some crazy carnage at first. And people like, somebody will die with a waffle iron in their hands, and they're just dying on the ground, and somebody just yanks the waffle iron out of their hands. Like
It's
I thought
so
that was
over the top and silly. But I love that guy. Like he comes in through the door, the glass is broken, people are storming in, and he like slices his neck, walking through, and he just continues about his business, grabs that waffle iron, and he's like a zombie, like I can make it. And it was over the top and ridiculous, but I got some laughs out of it. It was fun.
It's a fun kind of schlock, yeah, and it gives you a setup to like, it gives you an idea of what you're gonna get yourself into here, because I think this avoids being particularly mean-spirited. And what it does is it gives you a bunch of characters that are pretty cannon fodder-y. Like most of these people you don't feel a lot for. And really, if there were, I think there were some that you're supposed to feel something for. And I didn't feel a lot for anyone here, and not really to its detriment. It's just like, these are kind of throwaway characters. They fill a role in kind of an archetypal. This movie seems like it knows that it is following a lot of the tropes of the genre that it's in. You know what I mean? Like it's not trying to break a whole lot of boundaries, except to say that maybe that's the thing boundary breaking about this, is that it falls back into like, let's just give people exactly what they want and not hold back on anything. So there's a lot of over the top gore, and it feels like it's all kind of played for laughs. And maybe that's, I don't know. What did you feel? Like not a lot of the gore is like very serious,
Yeah, and like, so quick little backstory with me with how I feel about Eli Roth, the director.
Mm-hmm.
I've pretty much seen all of his movies. Like I kind of have a love-hate relationship with his movies, because I respect him, I guess, as a filmmaker, but mainly because like, I appreciate his love for horror, and like you're saying, like he knows what the audience wants.
Right.
But sometimes he fails with that, with his writing and everything. And, back what you said with the characters, he is, unintentional or not, he is great at introducing these characters that are so unlikable.
You don't mind at all.
When the most vile, disgusting things happens to them, you're not like, "Aw," you're like, "All right, okay."
I will say, without spoiling it specifically, there was one scene that was so brutal. It is like, even though this is one of the most annoying characters, it's so brutal. Everybody in my audience was kind of like, "Oh, okay, we are not messing around here."
I think I know what scene you're talking about, and I kind of feel like it should have been there.
Even
could have been a more deserving character, I guess. Like, were they that bad that they deserved that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
still,
in real life, this is movie world. In real life, none of these people deserve what's happening to them. It's just that the movie sets you up to you're not very invested in any of these people. Tell me where I'm wrong or if I'm wrong, but I think the main girl, I remember the actress's name is Nell, but I actually can't remember the character's name. but she's really barely been in anything else ever. And I thought she was a standout here as far as acting ability. But most people, the acting is not what you're coming here for, and you're not going to get a whole lot. To me, I mean, tell me if you agree there, but
Honestly, I wasn't really catching much from her acting. In fact, there was
yeah,
another character, a friend of hers, they kind of looked a little similar. So I
hmm
was getting them a little confused at first. Like, who's the main character here?
yeah, yeah,
And then eventually you realize, okay, she's the main character. And yeah, with a slasher movie, like, you can't really point out bad acting because it could also be like the director's just like, just roll with it.
it's fine,
People
it's
are here for
fine.
the gore. They don't care about Oscar winning
No,
performances,
no, and you've got your like the guy that's way too old to be around high school kids selling guns and alcohol to kids. You've got the nerdy kids and the jocks and you've got all the typical stereotypes. And but like I said, it works for that's what it needed to be actually, because
Yeah.
this is just a schlocky good time of a horror movie, and you're here for the creative kills and the practical effects and the gore. And I would say that on that end, it delivers pretty well. I mean, just about everything here looked practical for the most part, and I think he does a good job with that from what I've seen before. And also, I think this is a great example of very little reliance on CGI to make this movie look the way it did.
Oh, there's some great practical effects which another thing so impressive. Like I love that filmmakers do this nowadays. They don't rely too much on CGI. I know there's some circumstances where you kind of have to do some CGI to, create a grand spectacle. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's some moments where it's like that was fully practical, and it's like I'm watching a movie from like the 80s where it was DIY, and roll with what you got.
You know what I will say, and not really to its detriment or anything, but just after watching it, I thought it would actually have been cool if they had gone with a gritty grindhouse texture over this whole thing, like just stayed with that actual aesthetic of like an old grindhouse movie.
Well,
But I think it's fine that they didn't. It didn't detract from it at all. I just thought afterwards, like, would that have been cooler if they had gone full tilt like that?
I have a theory about that because I think there was a time, especially back in 2007 when Grindhouse first came out, it was a big thing, those Grindhouse style movies. I could
Hmm
name a couple like Hobo with a Shotgun that came out in
hmm
like 2009, 2010, where it was really popular. And now you don't really see that much nowadays. A lot of people are kind of saying that's kind of tired. And yeah, it was a fun gimmick for a while, that playback to Grindhouse, but now it's like I don't want to see that. So I think that was the reason. Like I think Eli Roth wanted to do that, but he's like, no, nobody likes that anymore. I don't think.
And also, for all we know, the studio said we can't go that angle. But
Yeah, like he probably would have gotten. It's probably a reason why it took him so long to make this. Like he probably had to do so much stuff to actually get someone to greenlight this.
yeah, I had a good time with this in general. I think this is definitely worth a watch. I can't see you watching the trailer for this and getting the vibe of this as being the schlocky Thanksgiving themed slasher movie and go into this movie and being disappointed with what you get. It delivers exactly what it says it's going to deliver. I think it was good to see. So like I said, Patrick Dempsey, I think is good to see here. I think Tim Dillon was a nice cameo. I don't know if you know the guy,
And
but do you know what I'm talking about?
Tim Dillon. That sounds no.
He's a comedian, but he's
Oh yes, I do know him.
yeah.
Yeah.
He has a fun role to play here, and it's good to see him in a feature length movie. I'm sure he's done other stuff before, but I had a good time with that.
Good old Gina Gershon showed up for a little bit in the beginning.
And also, there's a moment
Showgirls.
when our slasher main character, his mask gets burnt and melted, and the color is distorted and everything. And I think that made for some good, like, future iconic horror imagery.
Yeah, and he intentionally did that. He's like, he has this giant oven and he lights it up, and just randomly out of nowhere, he's like takes the mask off. You don't see his face, but you see him back, and he just puts it on
Mhm.
there. And I'm like wondering, like, what's he doing? And he just lets it sizzle, give it like that Halloween Kills look, like I just
Yeah,
got stepped
yeah,
out
yeah.
of a fire.
It gave me those vibes for sure. I thought so. There's an aspect of this that's kind of a whodunit, like a Scream kind of whodunit, and I think it does keep you guessing about who done it. And when you do get the reveal of who did do it, that was not my guess. So I'm not the most perceptive on those things always, but I didn't see that coming. So that I think that was cool.
Yeah.
Did you see that coming?
That was not my guess either. That character in particular did act a little suspect sometimes, but I was expecting a Scream scenario where there were multiple people involved,
Mm.
at least
And
two.
They do a good job of making you feel like multiple people are suspect here for sure.
And I guess spoilers, but no, there's only one person. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that stood out to you about this that's worth mentioning?
A quick couple little cons. I want to go back to the whole Black Friday extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
This takes place in modern day, and I feel like, and I think this was a whole something that he had written for a long time, and it shows. Like, there's some aspects of this, like this came out 15 years too late, which in a lot of ways it kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole Black Friday storming and people getting trampled, like that doesn't really happen much anymore.
I was thinking about that too. Like it would have been it's cool that they did that, but it is like they did it after it almost would have worked better if they had set it in like 1999. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like or especially like in the 80s when there were multiple stories of people getting essentially curb stomped over Tickle Me Elmos. And Cabbage Patch Dolls. And it's like, set that in that era, it's totally makes sense and people can remember that and relate to it.
I don't think you would have lost much changing the time period of this either. I mean, because they didn't rely a whole lot on like technology that I'm recalling right now. Like there is a little bit of a social media aspect here. So I guess you couldn't do that, but you wouldn't lose much. And you could also make it like the initial thing happened in the 90s and then he's coming back he's still pissed after all this time or something like that.
I'm just thinking of a lot of like teens watching this now and seeing all these people go crazy over a Black Friday event and they're like, what are they doing? Why don't they just go on Amazon? Why are they lining up and crowding this place just to get a sale? Like
it is a good point. I don't think it detracts much from like enjoying the movie, but yeah, it felt like that would have been more relevant years ago.
It's the best setup for this because other than that, what else could he have done? Just have some random like the original Grindhouse trailer shows. It was basically just some random maniac killing people, which granted a lot of 80s slashers were just that. I mean, they had some backstory, but there were some movies where it's just some random maniac killing people.
Yeah, and it also gives you a reason to dislike these main characters here because they're just like gloating in front of all these people for no reason about being in there first, and they just seem like the most unlikable kids at the high school. But the whole town seems like pretty unlikable people. That's sort of the point, is like nobody's particularly lovable here.
It makes me want to watch a slasher movie where the killer is just going after these YouTube, TikTok pranksters. You see those videos and it's like they're so insufferable. I'm like, I want to see that kid die.
Yeah, and just the imagery of the mask and everything was very effective. Yeah, I have mostly good things to say about this. That con aside, I had a lot more fun with this than I thought I would. It probably could have been a tight 90 minutes instead of like an hour and 45 or whatever it ended up being here.
Yeah, it went a little over, but
you could have trimmed a little fat from it, but it wasn't that bad. It didn't overstay its welcome, really. I think 90 minutes might have made it a little tighter script and everything. There was a little bit of slowdown at some point there, but not particularly. Nothing that really I would count as a con.
But it's like, with Eli Roth, like when you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie, I personally love all the dialogue and everything. I'm engaged. I love it. But like he kind of like helps people along with that. It's like, oh, you're starting to get bored. Oh, here's a bloody scene. And that's kind of like Eli Roth. Like, there's some, it's like starting to lull a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, someone's getting disemboweled. All right. Whoa.
Right.
I'm back in it,
Yeah, there's not a lot of dialogue to chew on here or anything like that. There's some cool stuff with the mystery and trying to figure out what's going on here and flashing back and forth from the killer's like lair where he's like writing on the walls and everything.
Speaking of dialogue, there was one line that literally, like, I was fighting back laughter in the theater. Our main actress, she's having a squabble with her ex and her current boyfriend. They're out in a parking lot. Two of their friends just went missing, and her ex and the boyfriend decide to butt heads and everything and start a fight. And she gets in between them, and she's like, "I've had enough of you guys. It's like, I'm done." And she screams at them, "Get out!" She pushes them, "Get out! Both of you, get out!" And I'm like thinking, you guys are outside.
Get out where?
I feel like that should be get out of here.
I
I was just laughing.
I had a visual gag that made me laugh out loud for some reason. There's the new boyfriend, and like you said, the new boyfriend, the old boyfriend, and old boyfriend is coming up with his coat wrapped around the girl. And when the new boyfriend comes up, he like hugs her in such a way that it just throws the coat off of her onto the
Very
ground.
subtly, just like, all right, you're not gonna wear that.
That was a good sight gag. I like that a lot. And there's a lot of funny things here. That I don't want to ruin every kill or whatever, but there's something funny with the little corn cob holders that are corn shaped. There's a funny thing there,
Which is spoiled from the trailer, so people don't know what that's gonna happen.
Yeah. There's a couple sight gags with there's a turkey mascot that something happens and a turkey balloon.
Which the second I saw that mascot, I knew from the original Grindhouse trailer, I know what's gonna happen to that guy.
Yeah. The trampoline gag was short and thrown in there for the initial trailer, but
which is way tamer than the original Grindhouse trailer. If you watch
it is a little bit tamer than the original.
He probably pondered, should I put that in there? And I bet he tried to, but I want to say the producer's just like, no.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't
just let it.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't just let it go in here, because this is definitely an R-rated movie for sure. You can't for the language alone, you wouldn't be able to let this be anything other than R, but plenty of gore to go around.
No, I gotta say I'm pleasantly surprised by this. I went in with the lowest of expectations because I adored the original Grindhouse trailer. I'm like, that's great. It's awesome. It's one of the better ones. And a couple months back, I watched the trailer for this one, and I was just like, oh, it seems like they're kind of trying to take the movie a little too seriously. And
they really didn't.
They really didn't. Like, there were some serious aspects, but like he went in on the campiness and the stupid gore and the silliness, and there were some intentional, unintentional laughs. And Eli Roth's movies, the Hostel movies, I saw Cabin Fever, Green Inferno, all of them.
I do love Cabin Fever, by the way.
Cabin Fever, I love for some reasons, and I kind of hate for other reasons, but it's a good one. But a lot of them are like, I don't really like them. The Hostel movies and Green Inferno was really disappointing. But this one, all said and done, I'm like, I'll watch this again. This will probably be my Thanksgiving time horror movie.
I think so, and I think it will be that for a lot of people. I think this is gonna, not to oversell it. This is not a masterpiece or anything. It's not perfect, but I think it's enough to cement it as possibly like an iconic horror movie that people will watch every year for sure.
Yeah, and as a slasher fan, there's a lot of trash to sift through. And where in some aspects this movie's a bit of trash to some people, I think it is of higher quality compared to most. And I'd say as far as slashers goes, it's on the upper tier of the list.
I agree. Yeah. And like you said, I went into this with low expectations too. The trailer didn't do a whole lot for me. I was mostly excited just at the concept of that initial Grindhouse trailer being stretched into a movie, and let's see if they can do it. Yeah. And I kind of just went into this for the fun of it, just to see how it would be. And you don't often get a Thanksgiving themed horror movie to work with, so something fun. And it turned out a lot better than I thought it would be. So yeah, it's nice to have a surprise, especially from a director that's, like you said, maybe not consistent across the board. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that Eli Roth pulled something like this out. So what score would you give it out of 10?
Just from what I said, Eli Roth, I feel like he knocked it out with this one. A lot of his movies to me are a little, I wouldn't give a second watch, but the gore delivers. And he actually did a bona fide slasher movie, which if you're a slasher fan, you don't go there expecting great performances. You go in there expecting gore, maybe some laughs.
Creative kills.
Creative kills. You're not going to nitpick it and say, this isn't Oscar worthy. Never. That would never happen. So slasher fans, I feel like they are going to thoroughly enjoy this. And as a slasher fan myself, I'm going to put it up there, honestly. I'm going to give it a good 7.5, close to 8. As far as slasher movies goes, not regular movies, but I'm going close to 8 with this one.
I agree too. Yeah, for what it is, you have to rate it for what it is, and for what it is, man. Yeah, I float around to 8, at least 7.5. but maybe 8. Yeah. Nice
with
little
you.
surprise at the end, toward the end of the year. So thanks for watching, guys. We want to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit like on this video if you like this kind of thing. Share it with somebody you think might get something out of it. And yeah, thanks again, Casey, for coming in last minute and watching this with me and talking about it with me.
Hey, anytime.
And we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching as always.
See you guys
Bye.
later. Bye.